You know, we all think we know what drawing is, right? It's a pencil on paper, a quick sketch in a notebook. But today, we're going to peel back those simple ideas. We're going to explore drawing not just as an art form, but as this really profound philosophical act, a fundamental way that we think, feel, and, understand the world around us. So let's just start with this question right here. When does a simple mark on a surface stop being just a mark and start becoming a thought, or an act of discovery, or maybe even a form of knowledge itself? That's really the question at the heart of what we're digging into today.
Okay, so to even begin to answer that, we have to completely rethink what it is we're looking at. First up, we've got to get beyond the finished image.
So on the left, you see what we usually think of, drawing as a product. The clean, finished picture, maybe a landscape hanging in a frame. But the real philosophical shift, the thing we're really exploring here, is what's happening on the right. Drawing as a process. It's not about the destination, it is all about the journey. It's this active, unfolding experience. It's literally a way of thinking in real time. This quote just nails it. The primacy of process over product. What does that actually mean? Well, it means the act of creating, the thinking, the moving, the discovering, is way more significant than the final artifact you hang on the wall. The knowledge is being generated while you're drawing, not just sitting there at the very end. Okay, so if drawing is a process, what's that process even for? Well, that brings us right to our next big idea, seeing drawing as an incredibly powerful tool for thinking.
And to really get this, we need to introduce a key term. Don't worry, it's not as scary as it looks. Epistemology. It's just the study of knowledge itself. It asks that huge question, how do we know what we know? We're about to see how drawing isn't just a way to show what we already know, but it's a genuine method for discovering brand new knowledge. So how does that actually work? Well, it all starts with observation. Drawing forces you to truly see the world, not just glance at it. And that, in turn, sparks new ideas and inventions. It becomes this mind in motion, building bridges between totally different fields like art and science, and it can even help us become more aware of our own emotions. But here's the thing. It's not just happening in our heads. No way. Drawing is a deeply physical and embodied practice. I just love this way of putting it. It's not a one-way street, from your mind down to your hand. It's a dynamic conversation. The eye sees something, the mind processes it, the hand makes a mark. But then, and this is the cool part, that mark feeds back to the eye and the mind, changing the conversation and leading it in totally new directions you couldn't have planned.
Let's just trace that journey for a second. It all starts with a sensory perception. You see something, you feel something. That feeling translates into a bodily movement, a performative gesture with a pen or a brush. And what's the result? That gesture makes knowledge visible. It transforms an internal experience into an external, tangible mark that someone else can see. So the really crucial point here is that our bodies have their own kind of intelligence, a physical way of knowing things. Drawing taps right into this kinesthetic intelligence, the wisdom that comes from movement and touch. And this can be a really powerful emotional release, a form of catharsis. It can even retune our senses, helping us pay attention in a different way, especially in a world full of digital noise. And ultimately, that can be a path to deeper self-knowledge. So if drawing is a tool for thinking, and it's an embodied practice, what does all that add up to? Well, it adds up to being a completely legitimate way of knowing. And this is not just for artists. Look at the sheer breadth of this. In medicine, drawing can be an empathetic practice to better understand a patient's illness. For an architect, it's a core language for reasoning and communicating. Even in ecology, it's a way to engage with what a plant or an animal knows. It's truly a universal language of discovery. This might be its greatest power. How do you really grasp an abstract idea, or the feeling of an emotion, or even the shape of a sound? It sounds impossible, right? But drawing gives these invisible things a form that we can actually see, that we can grapple with, and that we can understand in a totally new way. And that power to make things visible goes beyond just our own ideas. By trying to draw the world from a different perspective, say from the point of view of an animal or a plant, drawing can help us break out of our purely human-centric worldview and connect us to these much broader ecological systems. All right, let's move into our final section and see how all of this comes together, and why that simple act of making a mark holds so much power, especially today. The mark itself has always been evolving. Think about it, from ancient carvings in stone to the fluid lines on a digital tablet today. And if we look to the future, drawing might become this collaborative act, a conversation between a human hand and an AI agent, creating entirely new forms of knowledge we can't even imagine yet.
But the form our marks take, well, it's not neutral. It can even be political. On the one hand, certain techniques like traditional perspective, like you see on the left, have been used to enforce a single dominant way of seeing the world, a tool of control. But on the other hand, as you see on the right, the act of drawing can be a really profound tool of resistance. It's a way to imagine new possibilities, to challenge power structures, and to build solidarity. So yeah, the way we draw truly matters.
And that brings us to a final and, I think, crucial question for our time. In an age where AI can generate a flawless image in an instant, what is the unique value of the slow, maybe imperfect, thinking mark made by a human hand? Well, perhaps its true value isn't in the product at all, but in that irreplaceable human process of discovery, of embodiment, and of knowing that we've just been exploring. What do you think?